Welcome to Family Feud. This team over here is Uncle Laban and his sons. The team over here is Jacob and his two wives, who are also the daughters of Laban. And so the way you win in this contest is it's whoever can out-scheme, out-cheat, and out-deceive the other one. Now, up until now, with your daily devotions, which one do you think's ahead? Well, it's probably Uncle Laban, because he's already cheated him out of 7 years of work for Rachel, and instead he gets Leah, and then another 7 years of work. So right now, I would say probably that Uncle Laban is ahead. Now, what do you think the real problem here is in Genesis 31, 1 through 21? The real problem is financial or resources. And if you look right now into chapter 31 and beginning in verse 1, you see that Jacob had heard that Laban's sons were saying, "Jacob has taken everything from our father and has gained all the wealth which really belongs to our father." But they're not really thinking about their father, they're thinking about themselves. And so that's usually the problem in most family feuds, is financial. And if you look back at, or look at verse 3 down below, the Lord is well aware of what's going on. So he's told Jacob, it's time for you now, in verse 3, to go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. Then he has to repeat that a second time over in verse 13. I'm the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now leave this land at once and go back to your native land. And so he has told Jacob that it's time for him to leave. He's been there at least probably 20 years. And however, though, Jacob is concerned. In verse 7, he says there that your father has cheated me by changing my wages 10 times. And so here we go again. It's all financial. And God has appeared to him in a dream in verse 10 and told him about how to gain even more wealth. And I won't go into that situation there, because I think it had to be a special event by God and not normal breeding situations there, the animals. Now, most times in family situations, you're supposed to forgive and forget, or in all problems. However, if you look at it, you'll see that in, verse 19, above that, Rachel has not forgiven, and she hasn't forgot. And so she's still holding a grudge there, and she feels like that she has been cheated out of things. Now, Lillian's grandfather, when he was dying, this was out in Kansas in the wheat country, he had the family around him, and the first thing he saw was his wife. And then the next thing he looked up and he said, "Well, there's old Harry." And everybody was surprised because it hadn't been mentioned in a long time. And why he was so surprised was old Harry, the neighbor, had cheated the grandfather by selling him a mule that was blind in one eye. And so he was surprised that Harry was there beside his wife. And he passed in just a few minutes after that. So he hadn't forgotten, Leah hadn't forgotten, Rachel hadn't forgotten, and certainly Jacob hasn't. And so the forgive and forget is a hard thing to do, isn't it? So now they're ready to go. God's told them to leave. And so he, again, is very cautious. In verse 19, he said, when Laban had gone to shear his sheep, then they leave. But before they leave, Rachel stole her father's household gods in verse 19. And also, Jacob didn't tell his father-in-law that he was leaving. So they're still kind of deceiving each other and maneuvering a little bit there. So what's the application of all this? In your family, you would really like for all of your children to be best friends, but that rarely happens. However, you can continue to be friends in the family. That's one thing you need to do. And my late wife's mother told me one time, said, you'll need to make an effort and spend some time in order to maintain family unity and family friendliness. And so we do that. Now it's a lot easier with Zoom, but you need to have time with family. You get to know them. They don't have to be best buds. Also, we see here that Jacob apparently hadn't trained Rachel or the rest of his family about his God. So you need to be the head of the household and train your household about spiritual things. And then finally, the way to do this is to have family events and times to get together so you do become friends. And then the most important thing, financially. Before you pass, it's not easy to talk about, but you need to get the family together and have them a copy of the will and tell them about your will and let them read it. And don't wait until you're gone and then leave it to your executor to try to handle it. And so here in Family Feud, we see that what you've got probably most of the time is financial. That's the real problem. And then you tend not to forgive and forget. And then on top of that, you need to be the spiritual leader and the leader of the house to make sure that everybody is friends at least. See you next time.